Time to get sauced up. Time to get sauced up. Time to get sauced up. Super Saiyan jutsu. Yeah. Time to get sauced up. Let's go. Time to get sauced up. Time to get sauced up. Super Saiyan jutsu. Yeah. Shouts out to everyone helping me keep the lights on over on the Patreon. That's where I have uncut reactions and exclusive content that does not come here to YouTube. Also, did you know we have a Discord community and also a Twitch channel where I go live reading manga and manhwa and also doing live reactions? You might want to join that. And last but not least, if you want to catch reactions here on YouTube early, become a channel member. Other than that, let's get this rock. Thoughts on Dragon Ball Daima. Episode 19. This episode was actually insane. I had no idea that we were going to get this level of an episode. I had no idea we were going to get this level of episode. The previous episode was already crazy enough. I was like, oh yeah, they went crazy on that episode. That was the crazy episode that I thought we were going to get, right? Super Saiyan 4 in the I guess chibi version of Goku, if you can call it that. And I thought it was dope. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you having Neva activate his ability, awakening his ability, and them showcasing how it was changing his physiology, I thought was really dope. I thought that was a really cool visual to kind of let you know, okay, something is actually happening to him internally. It's not just a unlock of power. Like, something is happening to you on a molecular level. So I thought that was really cool to just showcasing that. I thought that was really dope. And then obviously when he gets his power stripped away from him due to the tertian oculus, the third eye, I was like, okay, so maybe that was it. You know what I mean? He shut the power down. Neva did his little situation, so I thought it was a one and done. We had a cool little nod to Super Saiyan 4 here. Obviously, the design itself, him having like the more monkey arms, bigger forearm situation, bigger hands. Even the hair on the chest, how it kind of peeks in a little bit more. Definitely has more of a Sun Wukong vibe to him, which I love. I think it was a really cool nod to Journey of the West. Obviously, if you guys are completely unaware of Goku being based off of Sun Wukong, right? I think that if you're a Dragon Ball fan, I think it's a known thing. If you're a casual in Dragon Ball, you came in Dragon Ball Super time, you may not really know that that's his origin, like as far as his influence, right? So I thought that was really dope. I think his new design, I think is on par with the GT variant. I don't think it's better than the GT variant. I think it's on par with the GT variant. Now, again, we'll talk about episode 19 in a second. But again, I thought that, okay, that's what we got, right? We have that in that episode, fire. Really dope moment. And then you had, obviously, the wish at the very end of the episode where you're assuming he's gonna wish them to be adults. In my head, that's what I thought was going to happen. I think I voiced it at the end of that reaction. I'm not 100% sure if I don't remember it, to be honest with you. But I think that I mentioned it at the end of that reaction. That I was like, oh, okay, he's gonna wish for them to be adults, and then they're gonna give him adult hands. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that's what it was, right? Let me just make sure this is, but from that perspective, I was like, cool. Episode 19 starts. We're right out the gate. The wish happens. Boom. And they're adult. And I'm like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. This is going to be interesting. And it seems like they have their stamina back. It's almost like, cool, you don't need a sensu bean. You got brought back to an adult and you're back is what it seems like. Now, I love this too, because getting to see Vegeta in Super Saiyan 3 as an adult is different. And I love the fact that his hair is different from Goku's. His hair is more like his hair, how it goes up and it's just further back. I love that. And Goku is more down his back. I think it's so dope. And I think because you're tying it into the family, it's even sicker. And the reason why in my head, I'm like, all right, I think there's a reason why Goku's is longer. His brother Raditz has long hair, and his hair goes down his back. So in my head, I'm like, that makes sense. Vegeta's hair by default is going back. So why would it then go down? I love the fact that it's more just expanding off of his head. I think it's so sick. So I'm glad that it's a Vegeta take on Super Saiyan 3. It's not just a, hey, let's do Goku's hair with Vegeta's face. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love that we didn't get that. So having him have his own unique Super Saiyan 3 look is awesome. So cool. And the sauce level that we got out of Vegeta. You know, when Vegeta gets a new form, he acts up. You know what I mean? Vegeta already has sauce anyways, right? That's his whole personality is, I'm better than you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm better than you, and you know it, and I know it. That's Vegeta's whole demeanor. So when he is like, all right, cool, let me show you how I get down, I just thought it was fire. It was such a cool moment. And again, I always have liked Goku more than Vegeta, but knowing that Vegeta gets these moments is so, I don't know what it was, but I was so happy. I was so happy. Yeah, it was just a dope moment, bro. And like him getting to have a final flash in Super Saiyan 3 and how beautifully, I've said this in the anime reaction, I was like, we've never had Vegeta animated this saucy ever. This is the sauces we've seen Vegeta outside of Dragon Ball Super Broly. That's a movie, I wasn't expecting it. But this shit was outrageous. It was so dope. So I was like, yes. If we could get Vegeta sauce like this more frequent, yes. Like that was just fire. The animation on Vegeta was epic. So I was so happy to see that. I think Vegeta fans were eating so well in this episode. And also on top of that, like knowing that the third eye is essentially like the Hogyoku of Dragon Ball right now, right? It's evolving the host. In the same way the Hogyoku was evolving Aizen, right? So he's like, nope, okay, we need to do this, cool, I'm leveling up. Like, I like that aspect of it, and it's pushing Vegeta to the point of he's not specialized in this form yet, and on top of that, Super Saiyan 3 is known to be a drainer of a form. So while there's a ridiculous amount of power, you also have a huge stamina issue. And I love the fact that he was like, fuck, like I'm running out of stamina real quick. I like that it still played that. I thought it was awesome. Now, I know a lot of people were really upset at the fact that my man quit the fight because of Bulma. Now, I think people tend to forget. That Toriyama he started out as a comedic writer. There's comedy in Dragon Ball. And this is one of those things that I think when people, even in scaling, they keep forgetting, like some things are written in Dragon Ball as satire or as a joke. Like it's not meant to be taken as like a, oh shit, right? There's comedic moments in Dragon Ball. And that was one of those things where it's like, oh shit, all right, cool, and I'm chilling. Like, I thought it was hilarious. Like, look, and you could tell it was like a PG-13 version of what she really wanted to say. You know what I'm saying? You ain't getting none of these walls. It's really what she's saying. But he's like, hey, you're not going to take a bath, because obviously kids watch this as well. So I just thought it was funny. I thought it was a hilarious moment. Obviously, Vegeta is a warrior, right? So for him, it's always going to be like I'm going to throw hands. I want the smoke. You want the smoke. Let's go. Obviously, this was a comedic moment. I thought it was so funny to me. Yeah. And it's one of those things, too, that there's so much in the fandom about how bad Bulma is. So everybody's like, yo, if I was Vegeta, I thought it was funny. I thought it was so well written in that moment. And it was really going to be the only way to stop Vegeta, you know what I'm saying, from essentially dying in that fight. I just thought it was hilarious. But yeah, the big news, obviously, is going to be Goku, right? Goku deciding that, hey, and this is, again, the writing aspect of this was so fire. Having the fact that this just came off of the end of the Buu saga, I think the homage to the Majin Buu saga in this series has been apparent. It being kind of like the culmination of the end of Dragon Ball Z. But there was a moment in this that as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, this is such a cool like nod to Dragon Ball Z. Is when he is going through his forms in the same way that he did with Babidi and Buu, right? So going through this is Super Saiyan. You know what I'm saying? I just thought that was fire. Like this whole sequence here was so dope, right? Like that whole sequence was so sick to me. You having this is Super Saiyan moment going from base to Super Saiyan 1 and then going to Super Saiyan 2 obviously was super fire. And then you have him going into Super Saiyan 3 as well. The transformation sequence through this was so sick, by the way. Like it was unreal. I think a lot of people don't really give credit sometimes to how beautiful some of this shit is. Like this animation sequence was insane. It was insane. And like Goku at Super Saiyan 3, he just has like this I'm pissed look on his face. And I always love it, right? Like he just looks so damn serious. And I think that's probably the best part about it to me. Look, I mean, he don't look happy. He always looks mad at Super Saiyan 3. You know what I'm saying? Like I've always loved that about his form. Always. I always thought it was fire. But it wasn't just that. It was, I mean, look at, first of all, look at this shot. The contrast in the face is like, this is cinema. Just so you guys are aware, people talk about cinema. Let me just let you guys know. There's something called shadow side to camera. Now, what shadow side to camera is when you're filming is you usually have the shadow side of the face facing the camera. Right? So, if you even look at me right now, this side of my face is in shadow. This side of my face is illuminated. Does that make sense? There's a reason why I have shit set up the way that I do. If you just have bright light and it's just even across, it flattens you out. You have no dimension to your face. You just look like, you know what I mean? And this is, to me, when I see this is cinema. This is visually cinema. Shadow side to camera. The closest to the camera to us is the shadow side of his face. It's so clean. It's such a awesome aesthetic in anime when they do this. It's so great. I love it. But yeah, this image here is beautiful. This is Super Saiyan 3. But then this part when my man hits him with this, when you see the mouth, one more bonus, but is when the one more bonus comes in, hey, this shit went crazy. This shit went crazy, bro. This shit went crazy. I was like, there's no way, bro. Because in my head, again, based off the previous episode, I thought that it was a one-time thing with Neva. But knowing Goku and the things we've seen in the past of Goku, once his body's experienced something, that's it. Like it's like you've seen it multiple times when people have attacked him and stuff. And it's like, hey, like that's not going to work on me anymore. Like my body's already experienced it. It won't work again. So, and this scenario was really dope because now we're saying, okay, his body got touched. His body experienced it. Now he can tap into it. Crazy. Now, when you think about it, we've seen in the future, obviously, Daima takes place before Super does. This obviously calls into the same situation that we saw with Goku in Super Saiyan God when he fought Beerus, right? When his God form left him, right? He was still able to tap into the God power, even though like it was in his base, which is kind of crazy, right? For whatever reason, his power level didn't drop, which is wild. And then after the fact, even though you need the ritual, he didn't need the ritual to go Super Saiyan God anymore. He didn't need it. So that's a whole other thing now where you're like, oh shit, this is crazy. You know what I mean? So this is, again, one of those things where it's interesting that they're doing it this way. The biggest question now is, how are they going to explain it? Because we can assume a couple of things. The first assumption that I have is maybe it's something where it's a magic influx where the magic that never used on him is still lingering in his body and he's able to tap into it. And it has to use some kind of demon magic to tap into it, right? That's one theory. One theory. Now, for those that are like, okay, that's an interesting take, right? I wonder if it has something to do with him being in the demon realm. Like maybe it's a form that he can only access with demon magic in the demon realm. Like maybe there's something there with that. I'm not sure, but I'm trying to find a way of how this makes sense for Super because we hadn't seen it, right? The idea that, hey, it only happened when Neva gave him the ability is out the window now. It has now resurfaced. So in my head, I'm like, this feels like a whole new thing. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that he's still able to do it after Neva didn't touch him again. So either something's lingering in his body or his body is used to it now. So I'm not sure what happens because of this. You know what I'm saying? In terms of Super. This sequence here, when his eye turns red, cold. Like, just subtle. Somebody had left, bro, this part right here when my man takes off his shirt was so cold. Bro, that was sick. I was like, there's no way my man just snatched his shirt off and went, let's go. That's fire, son. Like, it's so cold. It's just so fire to me. I love it. Like, I absolutely love this shit. I love it so much, bro. The form, though. The form of Super Saiyan 4. Me and Toshi were laughing about this, by the way. Hold on, let me see. So, Goku's in the air. Let's just start there. Goku's in the air, right? He's in the air, he's transforming. And then next thing you know, now he's crawling up. Me and Toshi were laughing about this. Me and him were talking on the phone yesterday. We were dying laughing about this. How this doesn't make sense. Wow, where did you fall? Like, I'm confused. Did you fall? Did the ground grow up? I'm so confused by that. That continuity is off. It's just off. People can say whatever they want. It's off. I know people are like, oh, well, maybe it's a callback to Super Saiyan 4 and GT. Cool, but he was standing. It's a very different scenario. Goku was standing at the time. He was a monkey and he shrunk down. He was standing on something. Goku was in the air here. It's just really strange. It's like, hold on, nigga, why are you on the ground? What happened? I just thought it was hilarious. But yeah. But the form, guys, is sick. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, and maybe, because I also know in Super Saiyan 4, it's like this as well. Now, when you look at Majin Vegeta, now that we know about the magic side of things, right? More. Majin Vegeta, what is the main differences in Majin Vegeta versus Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta? The first thing you notice, obviously, is the M, right? But the second thing you notice is the eyes. The eyes have that black bar under the eye, like a liner, right? Yeah, this liner under the eyes. So in my head, when I see this, it reminds me of that. It's like, okay, demon magic has given you some kind of transformation, but it's not in a controlling sense. It's like enhancing, right? So you still have that. It could be dark red or black. I can't really tell. It does look different from the eyebrow line, but it does also look maybe like a darker red, but it could, let's say it's black. Let me just double check on the other. Yeah, it's black here. So you have that black around, right? Under here, it looks dark. It looks black. So let me just see if I go here. It looks black here. It could be dark red. I'm not 100% certain. But that to me is the continuity between both of them in terms of demon magic affecting the body. Obviously, Babidi being a wizard, being able to magically control or enhance a body, manipulate a body, that makes sense. Again, you see the under the eye. So to me, it makes sense that, okay, this is definitely showcasing the demonic side of a form. So could that be what we're seeing here in terms of how it's connected, right? Because obviously people are like, oh, well, Super Saiyan 4 had those types of eyes before. No, I understand what you're saying. But now that we know in the actual Dragon Ball Z, non-GT continuity, it has to make sense, right? So in my head, I'm like, all right, GT doesn't exist right now. This is a different timeline, right? So if we have what we saw with Babidi in Majin Vegeta, which is magic, and then in Dragon Ball Daima, which by the way, initially was called Dragon Ball Magic before it was called Daima. Does that make sense? Like, so is this a magic form? Is this, because if you're looking at it from the perspective of Daima, right? We came in, people in the demon realm weren't aware of ki. They weren't really focused on ki. They were focused on magic, right? So when Goku started fighting initially and you had Glorio and Pansy seeing him, they're like, oh, what kind of magic is that? They were talking about magic. They thought he was using magic, not ki. And then when you flip it later on, we start seeing Glorio powering up using ki. He was not using ki before. He was just using his magic with his lightning shit. And then when he started to use his ki, he was like, oh shit. Ku was doing the same thing, or Do was doing the same thing. So he was like, oh, what? Oh, let me try to power up. He goes Super Saiyan 3, right? Like, so I think there's this whole thing here of like magic beings tapping into ki and non-magic beings tapping into magic. That's what it seems like we have here. Now, again, I'm just trying to see how this makes sense for the future of Dragon Ball Super. What can we see here that explains why it would make sense that we didn't see it in Dragon Ball Super? We probably won't know the answers to those until next episode, but those are the things that are running through my head when I'm talking about, when I'm trying to understand what's going on in Daima, because it is a little bit convoluted. Like, I think we have to acknowledge the fact that it is that, right? Like it's right now, we don't have answers to make sense for Super. And for those that are unaware, like I said before, this does take place before Dragon Ball Super. Now I know some people are like, oh, well, but GT takes place after Super. Yes, technically it does take place after Super. But again, in the same fashion that Daima has here, some things aren't lining up. So we have to try to figure out what continuity is what. Dragon Ball GT takes place after the tournament in Dragon Ball Z. That's when GT takes place. Daima takes place right after Buu. And then after that, 4 years after that, you have Dragon Ball Super. So it's very interesting to know when what happens. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think ultimately we should hopefully, fingers crossed, get an idea of what's going on with this form. Hopefully explain it to us in this next episode, the final episode of Daima. They have a lot to finish. They have a lot, obviously, to wrap up with. I don't think Super Saiyan 4 is going to be enough to beat Goma, to be completely honest with you. Because of the Tertian Oculus, there's going to need to be a massive uptick. I think there's going to be some kind of fusion. They talked about the fusion bugs early on. Chekhov's gun, it's just a part of film. You show something, you need to use it. They will use the bugs. I just don't know how they use them. And I don't know what that looks like. It's also one of those things where, is it going to be a different person? I hope that it is. I hope that it's a completely different person that we get. Obviously, you have your Potara fusion being Vegito. You have your Metamoran fusion, which is Gogeta. Based off of that philosophy, the bug fusion should be a different person. And I hope that it is. I hope that we get a completely different person. He said, man, I hope next week is 4 to 5 minutes long. I really hope so as well, because knowing that we have to finish a fight, I think a fusion will happen. And then we need to, one, get out of the demon realm, but explain what's going on. There needs to be some kind of explanation of why he cannot do Super Saiyan 4 anymore. That's the only explanation we need. We don't need any other explanation. We need to know why he can't do it outside. You know what I'm saying? So if they're like, if Vegeta's like, hey man, I need to know how you did that. He's like, I don't know. I can't tap into it anymore. If they say that, I'm like, all right, cool. We at least get something to know. Awesome. He can't do it outside the demon realm or something like that. It's got to be something that we hear from him acknowledging that he can't do it anymore. That would be awesome. That would be so cool. Just so we know story-wise that he hasn't just had this form in his pocket, he's never used it. Now, I would assume Super Saiyan 4 would still be below God, would still be below everything else, right? It's not going to be. But again, it's just one of those things of like, damn. But the form looks awesome. I love it. Now, I know some people hate the fact that his forearms and his hands are bigger. I love that because, again, the whole ape concept of it. Now, I know people are like, oh, well, I kind of miss the Gonozaru, and then you shrink down into, and I think that's cool as well. I don't think one is better than the other. I think they're on equal footing. Obviously, with the red hair, definitely Gogeta vibes, right? But I love this. I think it's so dope. I think it's so fucking sick. Yeah, I love the form. I love the color. Yeah, because it's a different red, right? People are like, oh, well, it's the same, but he just has red hair. No, the red is different. The red is not like that deep red. This is more like has a pinkish hue to it, right? It's more of a magenta. It's not a red. The background that he's against right now is red. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely a magenta type of color, but I love it. I think it's so cool. Again, GT Super Saiyan 4 being like that real blood red hair, black hair up top. I love the contrast of that. It's sick. Either one. I don't think one is better than the other. I really like both forms. But I think if I'm looking at it from a perspective of it being like more of a Sun Wukong vibe, this is 100% like homage to Journey of the West. Like 100%. I just think that's fire. Mazer with the 11 months. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. I love it. I think it's so dope. But the big question again is what's going to happen next week? That's the biggest question. What is going to happen next week? They got to explain it. But yeah, those are my thoughts, guys. Those are my thoughts on Super Saiyan 4, Super Saiyan 3, and Dragon Ball Daima. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys are catching this after the fact. I would love to know your guys' thoughts about it as well. I'm excited and sad at the same time. I really hope that we get more sooner than later, and what Toyotaro could do could be very interesting. You know what I'm saying? And in my head, knowing how people operate, I wouldn't put it past the fact that Toyotaro may have known that Toriyama had been ill for some time. Maybe much longer than, the reports have stated. Maybe there is something where, he was allowing him to set stuff up for the future or tie into certain things. Obviously, the biggest thing in my head is obviously Toyotaro with Dragon Ball AF, Super Saiyan 5 and Dragon Ball AF being essentially a Super Saiyan 4 variant, but silver, right? You have Ultra Instinct that is silver. So it's like, could there be something of tying Super Saiyan 4 into that Ultra Instinct and getting like that Super Saiyan 5 aesthetic? That could be so crazy, right? But again, it's those fan crazy things that you kind of think about that you're like, man, that would be really interesting if that's where something went. But yeah, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, man, in the comments down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this. And again, if you guys want to catch early, I gotta check out the Patreon as usual. But yeah, very, very dope. We are currently live here on YouTube and on Twitch. So if you guys don't want to miss any of the lives, make sure you guys join the Twitch channel. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you don't miss any future uploads here on YouTube. And we'll catch y'all in the next one, player.